Dr. Alex Carter floated in the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching Earth turn slowly below him. The blue marble looked peaceful from up here, but Alex knew better. Down there, billions of humans lived their daily lives, completely unaware that they were about to face something that would change everything. Alex had been studying radio signals from space for over 10 years. Most of them came from stars and planets, natural sounds of the universe. But 3 days ago, something different had appeared on his screens. The signals were too organized, too perfect to be natural. They came from somewhere beyond the outer. Planets moving toward Earth at incredible speed. "Still looking at those readings?" asked Dr. Emma Rodriguez as she floated into the room. Emma worked with Alex on the space station, studying communications from Earth and space. She was one of the few people who knew about the strange signals. "They're getting stronger," Alex said, pointing to his computer screen. "Whatever is sending these signals, it's getting closer to us every hour." Emma looked at the data and frowned. "Have you told anyone on Earth about this yet?" "I sent a message to the International Space Agency this morning. They want more proof before they tell the world governments." Alex rubbed his tired eyes. "Emma, I think we're about to have visitors." Far beyond the outer planets, Commander Zixtara stood on the bridge of the Dominion's Edge, the largest ship in the Krillian Empire's fleet. The ship was massive, bigger than most human cities, and it carried weapons that could destroy entire planets. Zixtara was 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that looked like black metal. Her species had ruled their part of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. "Report," she commanded in a voice that sounded like grinding stone. "The third planet shows signs of intelligent life," answered her science officer. "They use radio waves and have small settlements across the surface. Their technology appears very primitive." Zixtara smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Good. Another easy conquest for the Empire." She turned to address the other creatures on her bridge. "Vexani, what do your hunters think?" The Vexani representative was an insect-like creature with 6 legs and razor-sharp claws. Its voice buzzed like 1,000 flies. "The prey species appears weak. Their cities are spread out with no real defenses. My hunters estimate complete subjugation in less than 1 planetary rotation." "Shardmock analysis?" Zixtara asked. The crystalline being that answered seemed to be made of living diamond. Its words came out like the sound of breaking glass. "Energy readings show no advanced weapons. No shields around their settlements. They have small flying machines, but nothing that could threaten our ships. Null void assessment." The energy being that responded had no solid form, appearing as a dark cloud with glowing eyes. "Life force readings indicate a species of average intelligence. They show no signs of the combat mutations found in true predator races." Zixtara nodded with satisfaction. For millions of years, her people and their allies had traveled the galaxy, finding new worlds and new species to conquer. They were the apex predators, the hunters who ruled over all other life forms. Some species they kept as slaves, others they destroyed completely. A few lucky ones became client species, serving the Empire in exchange for protection. "Begin standard intimidation protocol," she ordered. "Send 3 ships to hover over their largest population centers. That usually makes them surrender quickly." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Jake Morrison was having a normal Tuesday morning at the Pentagon when his secure phone rang. Jake had been a Marine for 15 years before joining the space program's security division. He was used to strange calls, but this one was different. "Morrison here," he answered. "Jake, this is Dr. Carter from the space station. We need to talk right now." Jake knew Alex from their work together on satellite security. Alex was usually calm and professional, but now he sounded scared. "What's wrong, Doc?" "We have incoming visitors." "Not human visitors. They're about 6 hours away from Earth orbit." Jake sat up straight in his chair. "Are you sure about this?" "I've been tracking their signals for 3 days. "Jake, their ships are huge, much bigger than anything we've ever built. And there are dozens of them." Jake's mind immediately went to defense protocols. "Have you contacted the president yet?" "The space agency is handling that." But Jake, I think you need to start preparing for the worst-case scenario. Jake understood. He ended the call and immediately began making other calls. Within an hour, military bases around the world were quietly raising their alert levels. Nobody knew what was coming, but they were getting ready. Dr. Marcus Webb was in his laboratory at MIT when he got the call from the White House. As one of the world's leading experts on theoretical alien contact, he had always wondered if this day would come. Now it was here, and he felt completely unprepared. Dr. Webb, this is President Johnson. We need you in Washington immediately. Yes, sir. May I ask what this is about? We're about to have visitors from space. We need to know how to talk to them. Marcus grabbed his emergency bag and headed for the airport. On the plane, he tried to organize his thoughts. Everything he had studied about alien contact scenarios seemed useless now. Real aliens were coming, and humanity had no idea what they wanted. Ambassador Lisa Hayes was in her office at the United Nations when she got the call. She had spent 20 years in international diplomacy, but this was completely different from anything she had ever faced. Lisa, we need you to lead humanity's response to first contact, said Secretary of State Williams over the phone. Are you serious? This is really happening? 3 alien ships just appeared over New York, London, and Tokyo. They're not responding to any of our communication attempts. We need our best diplomat ready for whatever comes next. Lisa looked out her window and saw people on the streets pointing up at the sky. High above the city, a massive dark shape hung in the air like a storm cloud. It was triangular and covered in lights that pulsed in patterns too complex to understand. The alien ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They made no sound as they hovered over the cities, but everyone who saw them knew their lives had just changed forever. Captain Roy Tucker was at his military base in Alaska when the alerts came in. Roy had been a soldier for 20 years, fighting in wars around the world. But this was different. This was bigger than any war between human nations. All units, this is not a drill, came the announcement over the base loudspeakers. We have confirmed alien vessels in Earth orbit. All personnel report to battle stations. Roy looked at his soldiers and saw fear in their eyes. They were brave men and women, but they had never faced anything like this. Listen up, he told them. We don't know what these aliens want, but if they want a fight, we're going to give them one they'll never forget. Around the world, similar scenes were playing out. Military units were mobilizing, governments were meeting in emergency sessions, and regular people were looking up at the sky and wondering what would happen next. Commander Zixthara watched the planet's surface through her ship's sensors. She expected to see panic, surrender, or desperate military preparations. Instead, she saw something unexpected. The humans were organizing. They were coordinating their response across the entire planet with impressive speed and efficiency. This is unusual, she told her science officer. Most prey species either surrender immediately or attack us in disorganized groups. These humans are doing neither. Perhaps they do not understand the situation, suggested the Vexani hunter. Or perhaps, Zixthara said slowly, they are not the prey species we expected them to be. The thought was disturbing. In all their years of conquest, the galactic predators had never encountered a species that responded to intimidation with calm organization. Most civilizations either submitted or fought back in fear. These humans seemed to be preparing for war with cold calculation. Open a communication channel to the planet, Zixthara ordered. Let us see what these strange creatures have to say. The communication channel crackled to life 3 hours after the alien ships appeared over Earth's major cities. Ambassador Lisa Hayes sat in the emergency command center deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by military leaders and scientists from around the world. She had prepared for this moment her entire career, but nothing could have made her ready for what came next. Primitive species of the third planet, came a voice that sounded like grinding metal. I am Commander Zixthara of the Krillian Empire. You will surrender your world immediately or face complete destruction. Lisa took a deep breath before responding. This is Ambassador Lisa Hayes, representing the United Nations of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your civilization. However, we cannot accept your demand for surrender. Perhaps we can find a better solution that benefits both our species." The silence that followed lasted for several minutes. Finally, Commander Zixthara spoke again, and this time she sounded confused. "You refuse to surrender? Do you not understand what we are capable of?" "We understand that you have superior technology," Lisa replied calmly. "But we also understand that intelligent species can work together instead of fighting. What does your empire gain from destroying us?" Dr. Marcus Webb, sitting next to Lisa, was frantically taking notes. In all his studies of alien contact scenarios, he had never considered that the aliens might be surprised by human diplomacy. Most science fiction assumed that any species capable of interstellar travel would be peaceful. These aliens were clearly not peaceful, but they seemed unprepared for humans who wanted to negotiate instead of just surrendering or attacking. "Commander." Zixthara turned to her science officer. "Have you ever encountered a species that responded this way?" "No, Commander. Usually they either submit immediately or launch futile attacks against our ships. This species is asking questions about our motives and offering to negotiate." The Vexani hunter moved closer to the communication console. "Perhaps they are stalling for time to prepare their defenses." "Even if they are," replied the Shardmok representative, "their technology is thousands of years behind ours. What could they possibly do?" Commander Zixthara made a decision that would change everything. "We will test their capabilities. Send hunting parties to several remote locations on the planet. We will evaluate their combat potential before deciding whether to accept their surrender or destroy them completely." The communication channel went dead. Lisa looked around the command center and saw worried faces staring back at her. "They're going to test us," she announced. "Everyone needs to be ready." Lieutenant Jake Morrison was already coordinating the global response. Military units around the world were moving into defensive positions, but Jake knew they were facing technology far beyond anything humans had ever encountered. Their only advantages were preparation and the element of surprise. "Sir," reported one of his communications officers, "we're getting reports of small alien ships approaching research stations in Alaska and Australia. They appear to be scouting missions." Jake nodded grimly. "Contact Captain Tucker in Alaska and Dr. Rodriguez in Australia. Tell them this is it." Captain Roy Tucker received the warning just as his radar operators spotted 3 small alien ships approaching the research station. The station was located in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by frozen wilderness. It seemed like the perfect place for the aliens to test human defenses without much risk. "How many people are we protecting?" Roy asked his second-in-command. 43 civilians, mostly scientists and support staff, plus 32 military personnel. Roy looked at his small force and knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. But they had something the aliens didn't expect. They had prepared for this moment. "Get everyone to the underground bunkers. Set up the decoy targets. And remember what we practiced. Make them think we're weaker than we are." The alien ships landed in a clearing near the research station. Commander Zixthara watched through her ship's sensors as small groups of Vexani hunters emerged from the ships. These were among the most skilled predators in the galaxy, capable of tracking and killing prey across entire star systems. "Begin." "The evaluation?" she ordered. The Vexani hunters moved toward the research station with confidence. Their sensors showed human life signs scattered throughout the buildings, and they expected this to be a simple hunt. Instead, they walked into something they had never encountered before. The first hunter stepped on what appeared to be solid ground and fell through a carefully camouflaged pit trap. The second hunter moved to help and triggered an explosion that disabled his weapons. The third hunter found himself surrounded by mirrors that confused his targeting systems. "What is happening down there?" Commander Zixthara demanded. "The prey species has set traps," reported the lead hunter. "Primitive but effective. They appear to understand our hunting methods." Roy Tucker watched the alien hunter struggle with his traps and felt a moment of satisfaction. Humans had spent thousands of years learning how to hunt and fight. These aliens might have better technology, but they had never faced an enemy that could think like a predator and fight like prey at the same time. Phase 2, he ordered quietly into his radio. The surviving alien hunters regrouped and began a more careful approach to the research station. They expected to find humans hiding in the buildings, waiting to be captured or killed. Instead, they found empty buildings and confusing trails that led in circles. Where are the humans? Buzzing. The lead hunter into his communicator. Underground? Came Roy's voice over the alien communication system. The hunters spun around in surprise, realizing that somehow the humans had hacked their communications. How did you learn our language? Demanded the hunter. We're fast learners, Roy replied. Now, would you like to surrender, or should we continue? This game? The alien hunters looked around nervously. They had been hunting for thousands of years, but they had never been hunted themselves. The humans had turned the tables on them, making the predators feel like prey. Meanwhile, in Australia, Dr. Emma Rodriguez was facing her own test. 3 alien ships had landed near a small mining town, and groups of Shardmock warriors were advancing toward the settlement. These crystalline beings were nearly indestructible and could cut through almost any material with their diamond-hard bodies. Emma had evacuated most of the town's population, but she and a small team of volunteers had stayed behind to implement their defense plan. They had studied the aliens' crystalline structure and found a weakness that the Shardmocks probably didn't know they had. Remember, Emma told their team over the radio, they're strong, but they're also brittle. The right frequency of sound can shatter them like glass. The Shardmock warriors moved through the empty streets, expecting to find terrified humans hiding in their homes. Instead, they found speakers hidden throughout the town. When Emma activated them, the speakers began producing a high-pitched sound. That made the crystalline aliens vibrate uncontrollably. What is this? Demanded the lead Shardmock warrior as cracks began appearing in his body. It's called resonance frequency, Emma replied through the town's communication system. Every material has a frequency that can destroy it. We figured out yours. The Shardmock warriors retreated quickly, their crystalline bodies too damaged to continue fighting. They had never encountered prey species that could analyze their physical structure and find weaknesses so quickly. Commander Zixthara watched the reports from both test sites with growing concern. Her elite hunters were being defeated by creatures that should have been easy prey. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were hunting her hunters. How is this possible? She asked her science officer. The humans appear to have studied our forces before we arrived, the officer replied. They knew about our hunting methods and our physical weaknesses. They prepared countermeasures specifically designed to defeat us. But how could they know? About us? We have never encountered this species before. Perhaps, suggested the Vexani representative. They have encountered other predator species and learned from those experiences. The thought was disturbing. If humans had defeated other galactic predators, then they might be far more dangerous than anyone had realized. Commander Zixthara made another decision that would prove to be a mistake. Send additional forces to both locations. Use our best hunters and warriors. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. Back on Earth, Jake Morrison was coordinating the response to the escalating situation. Reports were coming in from around the world showing that humans were not only surviving the alien attacks but actually winning some of the engagements. Sir, reported one of his intelligence officers, we're intercepting alien communications. They seem confused by our tactics. They keep referring to us as unusual prey species, Jake smiled grimly. They still don't understand. We're not prey. Species. We're predators who learned how to cooperate. Dr. Marcus Webb was analyzing the alien technology and behavior patterns. Lisa, he said to the ambassador, I think we've been looking at this wrong. These aliens aren't just conquerors. They're hunters. They're used to dealing with prey species that either run or fight back in panic, but we're doing neither. What are we doing then? Lisa asked. We're hunting them back, Marcus replied. And they don't know how to handle that. Commander Zixthara watched the holographic display showing Earth from her command center. The planet looked so small and innocent, but the reports from her hunting parties painted a very different picture. 3 more test sites had been attacked, and 3 more groups of elite hunters had been defeated by the humans. "This is impossible," she growled to her science officer. "These creatures should be cowering in their primitive shelters, not fighting back with such effectiveness." The science officer pulled up tactical reports from the latest engagements. "Commander, the humans are demonstrating behaviors we have never seen before. They appear to be studying our forces during combat and adapting their tactics in real time." "Show." "May," Zixthera commanded. The display changed to show recordings from the battle in Canada, where a group of null-void energy beings had attempted to overwhelm a human research facility. The energy beings were used to simply flowing through defenses and consuming their targets, but the humans had been ready for them. They surrounded the facility with copper wire and electrical generators, the science officer explained. When our null-void hunters tried to attack, the humans created an electromagnetic field that disrupted their energy patterns. Zixthera stared at the recording. The mighty null-void beings, who had conquered dozens of star systems, were being held back by simple human technology. How did they know to do this? We believe they observed our energy signatures during the first attacks and developed countermeasures, based on their understanding of physics. Commander, these humans learn very quickly. Wing Commander Beth Palmer was coordinating Earth's air defense from a command center buried deep in the Colorado mountains. She had been a fighter pilot for 12 years before taking this position, and she understood air combat better than almost anyone alive. But fighting alien spacecraft was completely different from anything she had trained for. "Ma'am," reported one of her radar operators, "we have 47 alien craft approaching the eastern seaboard. They appeared to be moving in a standard attack formation." Beth studied the tactical display and frowned. "Standard according to who? We don't know their combat doctrines yet." "Based on their previous attacks, they seem to prefer overwhelming force applied directly to their targets," answered her intelligence officer. "No fancy maneuvers, just straight-ahead attacks?" Beth smiled grimly. "Then they're about to learn why humans developed air combat tactics over a century of warfare, launch all available interceptors, and activate Project Swarm." High above the Atlantic Ocean, the alien spacecraft moved toward the American coast with confidence. These ships had conquered hundreds of worlds, and their pilots expected this to be another easy victory. They were unprepared for what happened next. Human fighter jets rose to meet them, but not in the way the aliens expected. Instead of flying in straight lines toward the enemy, the human aircraft scattered in all directions, moving in seemingly random patterns that made them impossible to target effectively. "What are they doing?" asked the lead alien pilot. "They appear to be fleeing," replied his wingman. "But their flight patterns make no sense." The answer became clear when the human aircraft suddenly converged on the alien formation from 6 different directions at once. The aliens found themselves surrounded and under attack from angles they had never considered. Their ships were designed for direct confrontation, not for the complex 3-dimensional combat that humans had perfected. "We are taking heavy losses," reported the alien squadron leader. "These humans fight like a pack of predators, not like prey." Colonel Ryan Brooks was leading ground operations from his base in Nevada when he received word that alien forces were massing for a major assault. Unlike the previous probing attacks, this looked like the real thing. Thousands of alien troops were preparing to attack multiple targets simultaneously. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're getting reports from around the world. The aliens are mobilizing their full ground forces. This appears to be their main assault." Ryan nodded grimly. "Then it's time to show them what human ground forces can really do. Signal all units to begin Operation Hornet's Nest." The alien ground forces advanced on human positions with the same confidence their fleet had shown. They expected to face desperate defenders who would either surrender quickly or fight to the last in hopeless stands. Instead, they encountered something that confused and frustrated them. The humans weren't where they were supposed to be. Buildings that should have contained defenders were empty. Defensive positions that looked strong were abandoned. The aliens found themselves advancing through ghost towns and empty military bases. "Where are the humans?" demanded the Vexani ground commander. "Our sensors show life signs throughout the area," replied his scout, "but we cannot locate their exact positions." The answer came in the form of explosions that erupted from underground. The humans had spent weeks preparing tunnels and hidden positions beneath their cities and military bases. They weren't defending fixed positions, they were turning entire regions into giant traps. Dr. Karen Mills worked frantically in her hidden laboratory, analyzing captured alien technology. She had been studying the alien weapons and equipment for 2 weeks, and she was beginning to understand how they worked. More importantly, she was beginning to understand how to make them stop working. "I've got it," she announced to her team. "Their weapons rely on a specific energy frequency, too. Function. If we can disrupt that frequency, we can disable their entire arsenal." Her assistant looked skeptical. "But how do we generate enough interference to affect their weapons over a wide area?" Karen smiled and pointed to a device she had been building. "We don't need to generate the interference. We just need to make their weapons generate it themselves. This device will cause their energy systems to oscillate at the wrong frequency, creating a feedback loop that will shut down their equipment." Commander Steve Parker led a team of Special Forces soldiers through the ruins of what had been Denver. The city had been evacuated, but Steve and his team had stayed behind to gather intelligence about the alien forces occupying the area. They needed to capture alien prisoners and equipment to understand their enemy better. "There," whispered Steve, pointing to a group of alien soldiers examining a human military vehicle. 3 targets, isolated from the main force. We can take them without alerting the others." Steve's team moved with the precision of experienced hunters. They had trained for this type of operation countless times, but never against alien opponents. The skills they had learned fighting human enemies would have to be adapted for creatures with different senses and capabilities. The capture operation went perfectly. The alien soldiers were completely unprepared for human stealth tactics. They had sensors that could detect energy signatures and movement, but they had never encountered an enemy that could move silently and mask their heat signatures. "What manner of creatures are these?" asked the captured alien as Steve's team secured him. "You move like shadows and strike like lightning." "We're humans," Steve replied. "And you're about to learn why we're the most successful hunters on our planet." The interrogation that followed revealed crucial information about alien military organization and tactics. The aliens were used to fighting enemies that used the same basic strategies they did: overwhelming force, applied directly to the target. They had never encountered an enemy that used deception, misdirection, and psychological warfare. Back on the alien flagship, Commander Zixthara was receiving reports that made no sense. Her forces were losing battles they should have won easily. Human resistance was not only continuing but actually growing stronger. "How many ships have we lost?" she asked her tactical officer. 37 destroyed, 15 captured, and 23 disabled, came the reply. "The humans are using our own weapons against us." "What do you mean?" "They have learned to operate our technology. When they capture our ships, they repair them and use them in subsequent battles. They are turning our own strength against us." The Vexani representative buzzed angrily. "This is impossible. No prey species has ever been able to understand our technology so quickly." "Perhaps," suggested the Shardmach representative, "we have misidentified what type of species we are dealing with." Commander Zixthara turned to stare at the crystalline being. "What do you mean?" "These humans do not behave like any prey species in our records. They hunt our hunters, they study our technology, and they adapt their tactics faster than we can counter them. They display all the characteristics of an apex predator species." The thought was disturbing. If humans were actually predators, then everything the Galactic Alliance believed about their own superiority might be wrong. But the evidence was mounting that these supposedly primitive creatures were actually more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Impossible, Zixtara said firmly. Look at their technology. Look at their cities. They are clearly a young species that has barely begun to explore space. Yet they are defeating us, pointed out the null void representative. Age of civilization does not necessarily correlate with combat effectiveness. Dr. Helen Carter was addressing a group of alien observers who had requested a meeting to discuss human behavior. These aliens claimed to be neutral parties who wanted to understand what was happening on Earth. News of the human resistance spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On distant worlds where alien species had lived under the rule of the galactic predators for centuries, something remarkable was happening for the first time. In their history, they were hearing stories of successful resistance against their oppressors. Admiral Chris Anderson stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Earth defense ship Liberty, watching as human and captured alien vessels formed up around him. The ship had been built in record time using a combination of human engineering and alien technology that Dr. Karen Mills had learned to reverse engineer. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving encrypted transmissions from multiple star systems. It appears that several species are requesting contact with Earth." Chris studied the star charts displaying the source of the transmissions. They were coming from worlds controlled by the Krillian Empire and their allies. "What are they saying?" "They want to know if the stories about humans defeating galactic predators are true. Some of them are asking for help." Chris felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Earth had been fighting for its own survival, but now it seemed like they were fighting for the freedom of the entire galaxy. "Put me in contact with Earth Command. We need to discuss this with the leadership." On the alien flagship, Commander Zixtara was facing a crisis unlike anything in her long career. The Galactic Council of Apex Predators had convened an emergency session, and all of them were demanding answers about the human situation. "Explain to us," demanded the Supreme Vexani Hunter, "how a single primitive world has managed to defeat our combined forces." Zixtara looked at the assembled predator leaders and knew that her career was probably over. "The humans are not what we expected. They do not fight like prey species. They fight like predators, but with tactics we have never encountered." "Impossible," buzzed the Vexani leader. "We have conquered thousands of worlds. No species has ever resisted us successfully." "Perhaps," suggested the Chief Shardmach, "we should examine what makes these humans different from our previous conquests." The holographic display activated, showing recordings from the battles on Earth. The Predator leaders watched in stunned silence as their elite forces were outmaneuvered, outfought, and defeated by creatures they had assumed were helpless prey. "They study us," observed the null void representative. "During combat, they analyze our weaknesses and adapt their tactics. They learn faster than we can counter their strategies." "More than that," added Zixthara, "they cooperate in ways we have never seen. Individual humans will sacrifice themselves for the survival of their group. They share information instantly across their entire species. They fight as if their entire world is a single organism." Dr. Helen Carter was leading a team of scientists who had been studying captured alien technology and biological samples. What they had discovered was changing everything humans thought they knew about the galaxy. "The evidence is clear," Helen announced to the assembled researchers. "These alien predator species have been dominating the galaxy for millions of years. But they have a fundamental weakness. They never learned to cooperate effectively." "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Marcus Webb, who had joined the research team. "Look at their military structure," Helen replied, pointing to the analysis on her screen. "Each species fights independently, even when they are supposed to be working together. They compete with each other for resources and territory, even during joint operations. So they are not actually as unified as they appear?" "Exactly. They are predators who have learned to work together out of necessity, but they have never learned to truly cooperate. Humans, on the other hand, have spent our entire evolutionary history learning to work together for survival." The implications were staggering. If humans could exploit the divisions between the alien predator species, They might be able to turn the enemies against each other. General Peter Nash was coordinating the defense of Earth's expanding space colonies when he received an unexpected communication. It was coming from a world deep in alien territory, and the message was in broken English. "Human defenders," came the transmission. "This is the Peaceful Traders Union of the Centauri system. We have heard of your victories against the galactic predators. We wish to offer assistance." Peter nearly dropped his communication device. "Repeat that message. Are you saying you want to help us?" "Yes, we have been enslaved by the Krillian Empire for 800 years. If you can truly defeat them, we will provide you with information about their military installations and supply lines." Within hours, similar messages were arriving from dozens of star systems. Species that had been conquered centuries ago were offering to help the humans in exchange for liberation from their oppressors. "Sir," reported Peter's intelligence officer, "we're getting detailed information about alien military movements from over 40 different worlds. These allied species have been watching and waiting for someone to challenge the predators." Peter realized that Earth was no longer fighting alone. The war had become a galactic rebellion, with humans at the center of it. Commander Julie Foster was leading the first joint human-alien operation against a major Krillian military base. Her team included soldiers from 6 different species, all of whom had been oppressed by the galactic predators for generations. "Remember," Julie told her mixed team, "we are not just fighting for Earth anymore. We are fighting for the freedom of every species in this galaxy." The attack on the Krillian base was a complete success. The alien defenders were unprepared for the combination of human tactics and intimate knowledge of their own systems provided by the rebel species. The base was destroyed, and hundreds of alien prisoners were freed. "How is this possible?" asked the captured Krillian commander. "You are just one primitive species. How can you coordinate such a large rebellion?" Julie smiled grimly. "Because we know something you predators never learned. We know how to make everyone around us stronger instead of weaker." On Earth, Ambassador Lisa Hayes was addressing a gathering of representatives from over 100 different species. The meeting was being held in the United Nations building, but it had become something much larger than Earth's government had ever imagined. "Welcome to the First Galactic Freedom Council," Lisa announced to the assembled beings. "We are here to discuss the liberation of all species from predator rule." The response was overwhelming. Species after species stood up to tell their stories of oppression and their hopes for freedom. Many of them had been enslaved for so long that they had forgotten what independence felt like. "The humans have shown us that the predators can be defeated," said the representative from the Antares system. "But they have also shown us something more important. They have shown us that cooperation is stronger than domination." Back on the alien flagship, Commander Zixthara was reading reports that made her blood run cold. The rebellion was spreading faster than anyone had thought possible. Worlds that had been peaceful for centuries were rising up against their predator overlords. "How many systems are in open rebellion?" she asked her intelligence officer. "Over 300 confirmed, with more joining every day. The humans have somehow convinced half the galaxy to fight against us. This is impossible. These species have been our subjects for millennia. They accepted our rule without question." "Until now," replied the officer. "The humans have given them something they never had before: hope." The Vexani representative was studying tactical reports from across the galaxy. "Our forces are being defeated on multiple fronts. These rebel species are using human tactics and human technology. They are no longer the easy prey they once were. Worse," added the Shardmach representative, "they are turning our own weapons against us. Every base we lose, every ship they capture, makes them stronger." Commander Zixthara realized that the situation had spiraled completely out of control. What had started as a simple conquest of a primitive world had become a galactic war that threatened the entire predator civilization. "We need to end this quickly," she decided. "Gather our full fleet. We will attack Earth directly and destroy the source of this rebellion." "Commander," warned her science officer, Our intelligence suggests that the humans have been preparing for exactly this scenario. They may have set a trap for us. Then we will spring their trap and destroy them anyway, Zixthara replied. We cannot allow this rebellion to continue. Dr. Tony Mitchell was working frantically in his communications center, coordinating with rebel forces across the galaxy. The humans had become the central command for a rebellion that spanned hundreds of star systems. Sir, reported one of his technicians, we're intercepting alien communications. They're gathering their entire fleet for a final assault on Earth. Tony nodded grimly. Then it's time for the final phase of the plan. Send the signal to all allied forces. Tell them it's time to show these predators what real cooperation looks like. Across the galaxy, the message was received and understood. The rebellion was ready for its ultimate test. Captain Lucy Wright was leading a squadron of mixed human and alien ships on a mission to intercept the alien fleet before it could reach Earth. Her force was outnumbered 10-1, but they had something the predators lacked: perfect coordination. Admiral Danny Clark stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Freedom, watching as the largest alien fleet in galactic history approached the Sol system. The enemy force was massive, containing thousands of ships from all 4 predator species. It was designed to end the human rebellion once and for all. Sir, reported his tactical officer, enemy fleet will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. They're moving in standard attack formation. Danny smiled grimly. Standard formation. After all this time, they still don't understand what they're facing. He opened a communication channel to the entire human fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Clark. Today we show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than domination. Execute Operation Unity. Across the solar system, the plan that humanity and its allies had been preparing for months began to unfold. Hidden bases on asteroids activated, camouflage ships revealed themselves. And most importantly, the secret weapon that Dr. Tony Mitchell had been coordinating finally went into action. Commander Zixthara watched her fleet advance toward Earth with confidence. This was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. No single world could possibly resist it. But as they approached the inner solar system, something unexpected happened. Commander, reported her sensor officer, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. It appears the humans have been building installations on asteroids and moons. How many installations? Hundreds, sir. They have turned the entire solar system into a fortress. Zixthara frowned. She had expected Earth to be defended, but not on this scale. What about our intelligence reports? How did we miss this? Sir, the humans have been using their allied species to transport materials and workers through areas of space we don't monitor. They have been building these defenses for months. General Maria Rodriguez coordinated the defense of Earth itself from the Planetary Command Center. She had been preparing for this moment since the war began, and every human settlement on Earth was ready to play its part in the final battle. All defensive positions, this is General Rodriguez. The enemy is approaching. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth, we are fighting for the freedom of every species in the galaxy. The first wave of alien ships encountered Earth's outer defenses and discovered that the humans had learned to use alien technology better than the aliens themselves. Captured alien weapons had been modified and improved. Defense satellites used alien power sources but human targeting systems. The result was a defensive network that the aliens could not penetrate. This is impossible, transmitted the lead alien commander. Their defenses are using our own technology against us. Not just using it, replied Danny Clark from his flagship. We improved it. That's what happens when you give technology to a species that knows how to cooperate. Dr. Tony Mitchell was coordinating communications with rebel forces across the galaxy. While the alien fleet was focused on Earth, the rebellion was striking at alien installations throughout their territory. Sir, reported one of his communication specialists, we're getting reports from over 500 star systems. The rebellion is attacking alien supply lines and military bases everywhere. Tony nodded with satisfaction. The predators made a mistake. They committed their entire fleet to attacking Earth, leaving their empire defenseless. Our allies are making sure they won't have anything to go back to. Captain Lucy Wright was leading a squadron of mixed human and alien ships in a desperate battle near Jupiter. Her force was outnumbered, but they were fighting with the coordination and determination that had made the human alliance so effective. "Stay together," she commanded her pilots. "Remember, we are stronger as a group than any of us are alone." The alien ships attacking her squadron were powerful and well-armed, but they were used to fighting individual opponents. They had never faced an enemy that could coordinate perfectly, sharing information instantly and supporting each other without hesitation. "How do they do it?" asked the alien squadron leader as his forces were systematically defeated. "They fight as if they share a single mind." "Because they do," Lucy replied over the open communication channel. "It's called trust. You should try it sometime." Commander Zixthara watched in growing horror as her massive fleet was being torn apart by what should have been an easy target. The humans and their allies were fighting with a level of coordination that she had never seen before. "Status report," she demanded. "We have lost over 40% of our fleet," reported her tactical officer. "The humans have turned the entire solar system into a trap. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid is armed and defended. What about our ground forces? They cannot reach the planet's surface. The humans have created a defensive network that makes landing impossible." For the first time in her long career, Zixthara felt something she had never experienced before. She felt fear. Not fear of death, but fear of being defeated by creatures she had considered inferior. "Sir," interrupted her communications officer, "we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Our worlds are under attack. The rebellion has spread to every system we control." Zixthara realized that the humans had done something impossible. They had turned her own strategy against her. While the predators were focused on conquering Earth, the humans had been organizing the liberation of the entire galaxy. Ambassador Lisa Hayes was in the United Nations building, coordinating with representatives from hundreds of species across the galaxy. The building had become the headquarters for a galactic government that was being born in the middle of the greatest war in history. "The reports are coming in," Lisa announced to the assembled representatives. "The Predator Empire is collapsing. Their military forces are scattered and defeated. Their supply lines are cut. Their subject worlds are declaring independence." The response was overwhelming. Species after species stood up to declare their freedom from predator rule. Many of them had been enslaved for so long that they had forgotten what independence felt. "Like, the humans have given us more than just military victory," said the representative from the Vega system. "They have given us hope. They have shown us that cooperation is stronger than domination." Dr. Marcus Webb was analyzing the final battle reports when he made a remarkable discovery. The human alliance hadn't just defeated the alien predators through superior tactics or technology. They had defeated them by proving that their entire philosophy was wrong. "Lisa," he called to Ambassador Hez, "look at these battle reports. The aliens didn't just lose because they were outnumbered or outgunned. They lost because they couldn't adapt to fighting an enemy that worked together." "What do you mean?" "The predator species are used to fighting as individuals or small groups. They compete with each other even when they're supposed to be allies. But humans and our allies fight as a single organism. We share information instantly, we support each other without question, and we make decisions based on what's best for everyone." The implications were staggering. The humans had defeated the galaxy's apex predators not by becoming better predators, but by proving that cooperation was the ultimate evolutionary advantage. "Commander." Steve Parker was leading a team to accept the surrender of the alien flagship. It was a moment that would be remembered throughout galactic history. "Commander Zixthara," Steve said as he boarded the alien ship, "I am here to accept your surrender." The tall alien commander looked at Steve with something that might have been respect. "How did you do it? How did you convince an entire galaxy to fight against us?" "We didn't convince them to fight against you," Steve replied. "We convinced them to fight for themselves. We showed them that they were stronger together than they were alone. Zixtara was quiet for a long moment. We ruled the galaxy for millions of years. We were the apex predators. How could we be defeated by a species that had not even left its own world? Because you were never really apex predators, Steve answered. You were just bullies with good technology. Real apex predators don't need to dominate others to survive. They help others survive too. The surrender ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as the mighty predator Empire officially ended and a new galactic alliance was born. Admiral Chris Anderson was addressing the first meeting of the new Galactic Council. Representatives from over 1,000 species had gathered to create a government based on cooperation rather than domination. The age of the predators is over, Chris announced. Today we begin a new age of cooperation. We are no longer separate species fighting for survival. We are all part of the same galactic family. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together to build a better future. The humans had done more than just win a war. They had changed the entire galaxy. Dr. Helen Carter was giving a lecture to alien anthropologists who wanted to understand how humans had achieved the impossible. The lecture was being recorded and would be studied for generations. The secret to human success is not our technology or our military tactics, Helen explained. It is our understanding that true strength comes from making others stronger. We don't conquer our enemies. We turn them into allies. But how do you maintain unity among so many different species? Asked one of the alien scholars. By remembering that we are all stronger together than any of us are alone.